Hi, my name's Charles Malki, biologist and plant expert with Ivory Organics, where we grow cool plants. And in this educational lesson, we're going to be talking about forcing dormancy on your deciduous fruit trees in addition to whitewashing. And at the end, we're going to share our new and improved Ivory Organic 3-in-1 plant guard formula with the added benefits of diatomaceous earth. So stay tuned, and I hope you enjoy this educational moment. So here we are now. It's the second week of January, and I'm standing in the middle of my 3-in-1 variety apple tree that I grafted about 3 to 4 years ago. Some of you may remember an educational moment we shared about 3 years ago, where the educational lesson was using chopsticks to maximize light and ultimately fruit yields by simply pulling the branches apart. And if you take a look over here, you may notice, just as with your roses, the goal is to create this V-shaped open structure. And this one here is my Granny Smith apple that we enjoyed about a dozen apples off of this little part of the structure. Over here in front of me is one of my neighbor's variety of apples, which I've been propagating for close to 30 years. Never got the name of the original apple, so it continues to be nameless, but it's a greenish red variety of apples. And then just here behind me is the Gala variety of apples. And you can see again, branch wise, we used the chopsticks when those branches were young to pretty much force them into this V-shaped structure, again, to maximize on light, which ultimately will maximize your fruit yields. And over again, you can see over here the 3 primary branches that have created all these additional branches that will ultimately continue to support more and more fruit year after year. The issue that we're facing with here in the Southern California climate garden, and here we are again, that second week of January, is that some of these leaves, particularly we're looking at the Granny Smith apple variety, which again, we got to enjoy close to a dozen fruit off of, is still not in dormancy, whereas the most of the country is now frozen, and all of your apple trees across the country should have already been in dormancy. For those of you growing in the warmer climates in the South United States, whether you're in South Florida, South Texas, and here we are in Southern California, you may notice the same issue where the leaves are still on the tree, where the leaves are still green and still photosynthesizing, making those sugars and making all of the minerals and nutrients, and still playing an active role when it should be sleeping and resting and preparing for that spring bloom. Deciduous fruit trees, from the time they push out those leaves in early spring, they create right at the base of the leaf. If you can come in a little closer here, at the leaf that's closest to you, they're at the base of the leaf. In spring, the leaf creates an abscission layer, which is a ring of cells which become cork-like as it gets closer to the fall. And so what's happening in fall that's triggering the leaf color and ultimately the leaf drop is a change in the amount of light hours that the plant is getting. As you can see, we're approaching now near noon, and we're on a north wall, and the sun is at an angle in the sky, and hence we're in the shade. But as we get closer to February, March, and April, and as the sun gets higher in the sky, this is going to be now exposed to full light, long hours of daylight, warmer temperatures, and that's going to encourage the bloom and push of new shoots as well. So what's happening again is the plant is just overall too warm, even though it's in the shade and it's not capitalizing on light. The other factor is temperature. The temperatures here in the southern parts of the United States is too warm, and that's allowing the leaves to continue remaining on the structure to the detriment of what ultimately is going to be your fruit yields for the years to come. So what we're going to do again to force dormancy is simply strip the leaves off the plant like so. You can see it's a very easy process. If you have any children, get them involved in the garden and reap the benefits come next spring. And that's it. We forced a tree to go to sleep. Forced dormancy. It will not grow again now until, again, the right amount of light and the temperatures return, and that'll again push out the blossoms as well as the growth. And additionally, when it comes to pruning, we're not going to prune until that last chance of frost has passed your growing zone. Additionally, you may notice when you come down below, you'll see a blanket of leaves. A lot of gardeners will typically pick them up and put them in the green waste, but this is an invaluable resource that'll continue to break down in the garden and return all of those nutrients that went into creating the plant, and all of the elements that you've introduced into your garden to help create this beautiful and successful growing structure. In addition to those leaves, are now going back into the soil and improving the soil structure and feeding that soil biology to make next year that much better of a growing season. So in addition to that blanket of leaves that we are leaving intentionally to break down and return all of the nutrients that went into making these leaves back into soil, feeding the soil biology, which includes the earthworms, beneficial bacteria, and even the mycorrhizal fungus that exists below the soil level. What we also have, and what we did about a year ago, was we added a nice 2 to 3 inch layer blanket of wood chips. If you come in a little closer, we can pull back on the leaves and you'll see here the mycorrhizal hyphae that have integrated themselves within the wood chips. And as we continue, you can see that a lot of it is broken down, and just underneath that surface you can see that there's even earthworms here. But it's not so much the earthworms that are important as beneficial as the billions of beneficial bacteria that exist and the fungal hyphae and that network that exists within the wood chips and that topsoil that exists below it, continuously improving, continuously enriching the soil and returning all of those benefits to all of the surrounding plants and trees within your garden. And all of that starts with a bag of wood chips such as this into these invaluable resources, which again, all of the elements that went into creating these trees are going right back into the soil and benefiting all of the surrounding plants and trees. The other benefit of adding your wood chips in your garden, especially now, especially right before winter, is that it helps insulate the soil, helping the soil stay several degrees warmer in the winter, and in the summer it's doing just the reverse. It's helping the soil stay several degrees cooler while helping the soil also retain moisture, which will cut back significantly on your watering bills. So just so many benefits when it comes to wood chips. But the next thing we're going to talk about in the sense of insulating and protecting from weather extremes is the value of whitewashing. So let's get on to that point. So before I get into the Ivory Organics whitewash products, whether it be the 3-in-1 Plant Guard, which is the yellow label, or the blue whitewash labels, what I'd like to share with you is a few educational articles. If I can share with you over here this article, which is titled Fruits and Nuts, Protecting Fruit Trees from Winter Injury. This is by David Lockwood, Professor of Plant Sciences at the University of Tennessee. And it reads as follows: winter freeze damage, also called southwest trunk injury, I like calling it, and a lot of research refers it as sun scald, may be a problem for young fruit trees growing in Tennessee. This damage can occur on sunny winter days, even though temperatures may be quite low. Sunlight striking the tree trunk may raise the temperature of the bark on the lower trunk of the southwest side to 80 or 90 degrees. Cambium tissues under the bark will lose hardiness. When the sun goes down, the trunk temperatures will drop to the same temperature as the air. If this temperature drops below a critical point, these sensitive tissues will be injured or killed. And this critical point depends on what the plant species is, whether it be an apple or a peach or a pine tree or roses, and that critical point is different depending on what that plant is. Symptoms include injury may appear in several ways. The most obvious damage is splitting of the trunk. Vertical cracks may appear as darkened cambium areas under the bark. It will become more apparent in some instances during the growing season. As the cambium dies, flattened, dark-colored areas will be apparent on the damaged portion of the trunk. Winter injury may cause tree death within 1 year. These trees may actually bloom and start to leaf out in the spring, and depending on the severity of the injury and the health of the tree, the previous year, trees may die at any point during the first part of the growing season. Less severe injured trees may recover, or they may decline for the next few years before dying. Trees weakened in such a manner are also more susceptible to insects and diseases at either the injured site or through the tree than our healthy trees. And if we turn this page here, he also talks about the value of painting your plants, and he says paint applied to the tree trunk may give protection for more than one winter. Advantages of using paint versus guards include better air movement around the trunk plus better spray coverage to the trunk as routine pesticide applications are made throughout the year. Another article I want to share with you comes from the SF Gate Home Guides. The title of this is Why Do They Whitewash a Tree? Home Guides, again, SF Gate, and it is by Amy Rodriguez, and it reads, much like wooden furniture, your garden trees benefit greatly from coating of whitewash. Typically applied around the tree trunk, especially on fruit trees, whitewash provides functional protection during the cooler winter months. These are several reasons why gardeners use whitewash, from bark protection to increasing fruit yields. And if you read down below, she also addresses here sun scald, which happens during sunny days with cold nights. And she addresses pathogens and pests. In addition to heat stress, keeping whitewash trunk coating on in the spring helps the tree stay cool. So here we're talking about the benefits of a spring and summer protection and the value whitewashing will bring to your plants. So the majority of the articles when it comes to discussing whitewash discuss the use of using a latex paint or a tar-based tree paste type product. If you put paint on your house, 100 years later you're going to come back to your house and you're still going to have paint on your house. But if you put paint on your tree, such as this apple behind me, or your avocados, or your mangoes, or your citrus, within a year or two, that paint's going to be gone because the tree is creating a new layer of bark. But that paint is truly not gone. It's going to end up in your soil for a very long period of time. And that was the reason and the birth for the Ivory Organics products. If you come in a little closer here, let's start discussing that. Over here is the Ivory Organics 3-in-1 Plant Guard. Protection against damaging sunburn, insects, and rodents. For use on your roses, fruit nut trees, ornamental trees, and shrubs. And it reads over here, for use in organic production and healthier than latex paint and tar-based products. And I'm proud to share, before I get into all the colors and the variations, is that the Ivory Organics 3-in-1 Plant Guard Color White, which is also registered material for use in organic agriculture, now has the added benefit of diatomaceous earth. So before I go into the educational lessons later on this year on the value of diatomaceous earth, I'm giving you guys the opportunity to write me in the comments below as to why you think or how you've used diatomaceous earth in your home garden and how this product is going to accomplish that much more than it's ever done in the years past with the added benefits of diatomaceous earth. If you come in a little closer again here, I'll share with you that you'll see that the active ingredients, and it's always been this way, are castor oil, cinnamon, clove, garlic, peppermint, rosemary, and spearmint. So you've got all of these active oils that are offering the insect and rodent repellent benefits. But if you take a look at the inert ingredients, it now includes the iron oxide, which controls the color, limestone, which is the traditional historical way people have been whitewashing since BC times, and mica, which are clay. But with the added benefits of these milk proteins and silica and methyl cellulose, and then there it is, diatomaceous earth, we now have a product that is going to be longer lasting with even greater benefits when whitewashing your trees than using the synthetic alternatives such as latex paint or a tar-based tree paste product. So the other colors I want to share with you are the Ivory Organics color green, in addition to color brown. I'm going to share with you those colors in just a moment. And then there's the Ivory Organics whitewash labels. If you want to take a look at how this reads, it's the Ivory Organics whitewash, protection against damaging summer sunburn and winter sun scald. Again, for uses on your roses, fruit and nut trees, ornamental trees, and shrubs. And the difference between this product and the yellow label is that the yellow label has those 7 natural garden oils, whereas the blue label does not have any oils at all. And that's the reason that you don't see the added benefits and protection from insects and rodents, as this product offers the added benefits as an insect and rodent repellent, whereas the blue label does not, as it's lacking those oils. So if you're looking for a product that doesn't necessarily have the added benefits of the insect and rodent repellent protection. You're going to go with the blue whitewash label, but the yellow label is also a whitewash with the added benefits of insect and rodent repellent protection. And then there's the ready to use spray over here, also offering protection against damaging sunburned insects and rodents. And this is ideal for your cuttings and cloning projects. And if you're ever transplanting your plants, you can see that this blueberry near me, during the last summer heat wave when we approached 117 degrees, you can still see, as this product lasts an average of 3 to 9 months, when you spray it onto the plant, you can still see some of these leaves have some of the product that's offering protection, repelling some of that excess heat during the hottest heat waves. And at the same time, unlike latex and tar-based products that trap the pores and clog the pores, these Ivory Organics products are porous, allowing you to also still foliar feed through these protected surfaces. And now let's take a look at the apple tree behind me. So to my left here is the Granny Smith variety green apple, which we whitewashed using the Ivory Organics 3-in-1 color brown. And then to the front of me is that family favorite apple, which is a greenish red sweet and tart apple variety that we've been propagating now for well over 30 years. And again, we've coated that with the Ivory Organics 3-in-1 color white. And then to my right over here is the Gala apple, which is a red variety of apples, which we've coated using the Ivory Organics 3-in-1 Plant Guard color green. And the trees were last protected about a year ago. So around this time last year, we did exactly the same process of forcing dormancy by removing the leaves, followed by an application of whitewash, starting at the base of the plant and working our way up all the way to the tip of the shoots, as the added benefit of whitewashing also, which we did not read in those articles, is also preventing the risk of premature blooms. And that's a phenomenon that happens across the country when in the middle of winter or late winter months, there's a warm week or two, which forces the plant to wake up, push out its blooms, and then followed by continuously cold weeks that then cause the plant to then drop its blooms. And that affects that year's fruit yields. To prevent the risk of premature blooms, whitewashing serves that added benefit for your plants. The last few years, I've been painting each of the 3 varieties of grafted apples that we did here in the garden with the 3 different colors, as I like demonstrating it for guests that come and visit the garden. And it's a good practice to whitewash all of your fruit trees once a year. This is my favorite time of year to do it, as it offers your plants the added benefit of protecting them from the nighttime freezes, and it'll continuously protect the plants going into spring and summer. While in the spring and summer, any of that exposed trunk to prolonged periods of sun will be protected from the risk of sunburn. And again, we're going to whitewash all the way down to the base of the tree and work our way up to the highest tips as well. One of the added benefits, as we discussed as well, is that protection against rodents. And we've done a lot of educational videos where rodents such as rats and mice and even moles will come and begin girdling the lower foot or 2 along the tree trunk to get to the underlying tree saps, where the sugars lie when food sources are otherwise rare. They're lacking seeds, they're lacking fruits, and they're resorting to go into your tree, chewing on the bark to get those underlying sugars during the winter months. And this is another opportunity to protect your plants from the risk of girdling. So when it comes to prune branches, if you can come in a little closer, you can see over here was a poor prune job, and you can see there's still a lot of wood that's exposed. There's still some Ivory Organics offering some protection. Again, the goal is to keep boring insects such as beetles and termites from going into that wounded joint and beginning to hollow out the underlying supporting wood. So here we've basically protected it using the Ivory Organics 3-in-1 Plant Guard. Those 7 oils will serve to repel pests. The Ivory Organics 3-in-1 Plant Guard color white. And eventually it'll apply to the browns, the greens, as in addition to the whitewash formulas. But the Ivory Organics 3-in-1 Plant Guard Color White is now available with Diatomaceous Earth at ivoryorganics.com, in addition to homedepot.com, and eventually by spring and summer it should be available in all of our retail stores from coast to coast across the United States. And that list of stores will be made available at the end of this video, so stay tuned for that as well. Being that it's also bare root season, I wanted to show this example with this ultra dwarf red barren peach tree. If you come in a little closer, check out the color of these red peach blossoms. Here's an example of the fruit. It says excellent containers because it only grows 5 to 8 feet because it's been grafted onto an ultra dwarf rootstock instead of a standard or semi-dwarf rootstock. If you come down a little lower, you can see here that this here is the rootstock, which is going to control the size of the tree. If we spin it here, you can see that this here is the rootstock, and then they grafted onto it the scion wood, which controls the flavor, being the red barren peach tree. And what we're going to do again with the Ivory Organics is we're going to take our product, and we can do this before or preferably after planting. And again, we're going to go as low as we can down the tree trunk, protecting the rootstock and the exposed prune of the rootstock. And that's that transition. We're trying to protect the wood until eventually the scion wood will expand and grow wide enough that it will grow over the prune and that wounded exposed wood. And we're going to continue whitewashing the entire base, working our way up the tree trunk, and we're also going to whitewash the entire plant structure, stem and all, going over all of the blossoms, and again, for that added benefit of preventing the risk of premature blooms, so that it truly blooms when it's not just light enough, but also consistently warm enough so that it can support the maximum amount of fruit from year to year. Another important benefit of whitewashing your plants. So if you've enjoyed this educational moment brought to you by Ivory Organics, where we just discussed forced dormancy, whitewashing your plants, and then the new and improved Ivory Organics 3-in-1 plant formula, starting again with color white only, but eventually making its way into colors brown and green, and in addition, the whitewash labels by spring and summer of this year. Please be sure to give us a thumbs up, and most importantly, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. And for those of you that have already subscribed, don't forget to hit that push bell notification to get notified of our educational videos as soon as they become released. Again, wishing you all a happy new year and hoping this season proves to be your best one yet. Thanks again for watching, and wishing you all from Ivory Organics, happy gardening.